Hello, everybody. This is Ed Parcaut, your host of Helping the Brave, and let's bring in our guest today, Logan. Uh, I saw your thing. It said D Logan. Is Logan your last name? What is your name?
Logan is my last name. I go by Dean Logan, but from the military, I just
Okay.
got called Logan so much, I just go with it.
All right. Since you brought it up, what service and why?
Air Force, 12 years, 1 month and 25 days, but who's counting? I actually joined because as a child, I wanted to fly planes. Like it was kind of that whole vision of freedom, and we'll get into that. Being in the sky and all that stuff. And I didn't want my mom to pay for flight school, so I ended up joining. Didn't quite follow that path, as we'll get into, but definitely, absolutely had a blast in the Air Force. With great people traveling the world. I mean, what more could you ask for?
All right. So when you joined the Air Force, were you enlisted or officer?
Enlisted straight out of high school.
Okay. And then, so when you joined, in order to fly, didn't you have to be an officer?
Yes, but I was going to do OTS. I scored high enough, but at the time my eyesight was too poor to fly.
I
So
hate
it was,
that.
yeah, it
And,
was.
and you can't have corrections these days.
Well, so
They can't, 'cause they don't allow LASIX, right?
they did during that time. So it was late 2000. I joined in 2004. I ended up getting PRK, which is a military form of LASIK, in 2012, but I was too old to begin pilot training. So it's just like heartbreak after heartbreak. But I made the best of it. I still was airport operations manager, got to know, a bajillion pilots, got to fly backseat on a couple fighters. It was a great career for
Did
sure.
you go to Did you go to OCS?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No.
And why not? And please don't get this wrong. If you're enlisted, I was enlisted. When I got my bachelor's and master's, everybody asked me, are you going to go over to the, officer? I'm like, no, it's Navy. I'd have to be on ships. I don't want to be on ships. It's who wants to be a line officer on a ship constantly? Some people do. That's why they're in the Navy.
A lot of people.
Not me, not me. And everybody's like, but you joined the Navy. I'm like, yeah, but it was because they guaranteed me that I'd be a corpsman. And when they came my time after 18 months in and they said, hey, you have a choice. You're either going to a ship or you're going to a specialty school. It's a little different now, but that's how it was back then. I said, well, what specialty school is not on a ship? They said physical therapy. I'm like, that's exactly what I want to do then.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And it was actually the best choice.
Wow.
Was physical therapy. It was a great time. I did see, unfortunately, we pulled duty as a EMTs, but really like paramedics. So we saw a lot of stuff on Camp Pendleton. And then I also saw a lot of stuff because I dealt with burn patients and other things at Camp Pendleton. So,
oh, goodness. Wow.
Yeah, it's just I didn't realize why I didn't want to be in the medical field until like years later after I was started dealing with some of the stuff going, no, now I understand why I ran away from it and said, I'm going into business.
My heart goes out to everyone listening in the medical profession. Like, I could not do what you guys do. You guys have hearts of gold and like minds of steel. Not that I'm squeamish with blood, but like seeing open bodies, not my thing.
It wasn't so bad that it's just things that, there's one of my things that I talk about when I go for my PTSD is I had a gentleman who was drugged 1.5 miles up in LA underneath a car. He was hit by a motorcycle. And he was drugged for that far. They finally stopped the thing. He was a military person, of course. He was a Marine, and he was your color, black. So if people understand that what happens is the way that the scar tissue grows back and what you have to do and make sure that there's not the same issues. And people are like, what are you talking? Then go do biology. That's not my, I'm not here to, I don't have that much. So the problem was I had to debride him. It was the worst screams I've ever heard in my life. And finally, after 2 days of doing this for almost an hour each day, it was just too much. I had to get them involved, and the surgeon and everybody saying, take this guy upstairs and scrub him, because it was all over his ass up into his back, even though he had on protective material, boots, helmet, jacket.
So he did his part.
Yeah, it just it doesn't last forever.
Right.
It's supposed to one roll or two, not be drugged 1.5 miles. and he was up on his boots and his helmet as long as he could, and he just couldn't for that much longer.
Right.
And then fortunately, and so that I can still picture his face, I can see everything about him, I can still hear the screams, and that's what I try to explain to people. There's stuff that you do that you don't understand is going to affect you until later. And that's I had no idea. But then I because I used to be in that was not the only thing I did in hydrotherapy, but I enjoyed doing that at the time, but I didn't realize that it was going to affect me later on. Same with the ambulance. I've enjoyed the thrill at the time, but after seeing so much, it was just not what I did, because I joined the Navy to go into make sure I wanted to be in the medical field, and I did. But then after 5 years, 5 months, and 14 days, I didn't anymore. But like you said, who's counting?
Yeah, it's those things, and it's something that I it's near and dear to my heart to talk about with veterans in particular, is those things that we do that kind of we don't give a second thought to, but over time we tend to bury that sometime, and those skeletons live in our closet and show up and pop up in ways that we don't necessarily intend on. We might snap at a loved one, or we don't handle a situation the way we should, just because, man, we've been through some stuff. Every single last one of us that's seen military the wore the uniform, and that's not something that they train you to handle mentally, that cognitive load over time.
Yeah, and the problem was they don't have you talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about it because they think something's gonna happen if they talk about it. It's gonna ruin their service, this and that. And then so they just push it down, and then later it comes up years later. I was a workaholic, exerciseaholic, and finally, after not being able to do that anymore with bone on bone knee, left knee, it's amazing what comes up. And so
very real. I struggled with suicidal ideations, and after I came back from Iraq, I went through deep depression. I turned to the bottle, and I couldn't tell I was in therapy, but I couldn't tell the guy because he was a full-bird freaking colonel, and I didn't want him to lose my security clearance. If I lost my security clearance and I couldn't work, I can't work. I can't provide for my, it's just,
right.
It's tough. So I just bottled it up and put on a smile and kept it moving.
Yeah, and that's what we do, unfortunately, but that's not the best thing. And later we know that it's a little bit better now. I mean, when I first went to the VA, you get out, they, gave me 10%, denied everything else. And then finally, after years of fighting, I'm not 100%, I'm at 90, but I missed 100% by 3 digits. So eventually, but they didn't include my PTSD. They didn't include my headaches. And it's because of
VA math.
Well, no. It's the way it was done. Is we had to finish it up, and I didn't realize that, and this is what I advise everybody. Once you have your thing into VA, if you go get a new diagnosis, download those records and upload it to the VA constantly throughout the whole process. I thought you couldn't do that. Plus, I thought I'd signed the thing where they could go get my current medical records. Well, that's not the case. And so that's how, but I wasn't explained that by the person helping me. Right. He was a really great guy. He helped me out a lot. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I was at. Wow. But we took it over now because we know how to do with it now better than they did, because of just the fact that I'm into so much AI now and writing things and doing different things, that we're creating an app to actually handle all this stuff.
Oh, God bless you. That's going to be freaking awesome.
Yeah, because you'll be able to upload your stuff, and then I'll tell you, you got this Nexus you don't need to worry about, and then this one you don't have, go get a Nexus letter, kind of things.
You won't need the DAV or some of those other organizations.
Yeah, well, they can still help.
Sure.
Yeah, but DAV doesn't take any money. The VSOs don't take any money, but these other companies who take 5 times your increases, they were not going to be happy with me.
Yeah.
Which and don't get me wrong, because people are like, I don't like them when they take money. I have no problem if you don't know how to do it and you won't do it anyway, but they charged you $5,000 and now you're 100% or you're 90%. That's fine, because your first check was $22,000, so you paid them off of that, which you wouldn't have gotten anyway because you didn't go through the process to get help. So I have no problem you paying that. But if you have, if they increase you from $170 or $190, whatever 10% is, to 4,000 and they take 5 times the increase. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's highway robbery.
Unfortunately,
that's my opinion, not the opinion of this channel.
it's unfortunately that we don't have kind people like you operating in good faith to help people versus kind of the capitalistic nature of this society. And like, I get it, we all have to support our families, but there's a difference between people that are already hurting and in pain and, struggling to get by and getting what they are due versus just kind of beating people when they're down.
Right. Because we constantly have people hitting us up to help them because the system is broken still. I mean, even though, and this is how you can tell that the people outside have figured the system out, is there's 6 million veterans who have disabilities right now. 2 million of that came in the last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
but the problem is only 580 some thousand have 100%. The rest of it's from 10 to 90. Yeah. And a lot of it's in the 10%. If you can't, I feel the VA is like the old medical places where the insurance, where they deny, and then finally give it to you.
Yeah. And they don't have a choice.
Yeah, because you finally, and that's the system that the guy went through. That's kind of what he does, is he packages it up, gets everything he can, and then, because we put in for 22 different things and I got denied for 11 of them. Well, not exactly that way, but kind of, that's, that's, of 3 of them we got denied because the stuff wasn't in there or it wasn't diagnosed with a local VA person. But I was diagnosed for PTSD right after I got my stuff put in.
Right. I was kind of in a similar situation. I filed for I took my medical records to someone who I trusted, and they were like, okay, you have all of these things that were linked to your tour in Iraq. Did 2 tours.
Okay, we didn't even talk about what you did. Now you just jumped right to the medical record.
Well, I think people need to hear it. I mean, this is something that is really appropriate for the times,
Because I think everybody should go get as much percentage as they possibly can. And if it's 100%, it's 100%. The problem in the past, a lot of these guys are like, I'm fine, I don't need it. I ran into a Vietnam vet up close to my cabin. He can't hear anything. And I asked him, did you go in for your disability and get your benefits? I'm great, man. I'm good. He's got a great retirement, but I just want the medical. Go get what's wrong with an extra so much money tax-free per month, or to get rid of, your license fees and car license fees and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a very dear friend of mine who was a Marine.
He's always a Marine.
It's true.
I'm Navy, so I can tell you so I'm green side Navy because I was at Camp Pendleton, not blue side. I relate more to the Marines, but they're never former Marines. They never were a Marine. They're always a Marine.
That's true. But he has a bum knee and it gives him so many issues. And, he went in as a young, spry 18-year-old and he's had knee replacement surgery after knee replacement surgery. He's getting the cortisone and like the platelets shot in his knee. Mm-hmm. He's really struggling and he refuses to even talk to the VA. He's like, hey, I signed a contract with the government. I did my time. I did my job. I don't want anything to do with them anymore. And I'm like, but you're leaving money on the table. They can be helping you with this issue that you deal with on a daily basis. And my heart goes out to him, but he just is too proud to say, hey,
Is he married?
Divorced, but in a long relationship, long-time relationship.
Does he have any children?
Yes.
How old are they?
Adults.
Okay. Well, people don't know this, but if you're 10 to 100%, your kids can go to school for free for state schools and state colleges. If you're 100%, your kids can make as much money as they want, but if you're not 100%, they can't. There's a max they can make each year in order to stay qualified under that. That's why I bring that up. If you don't do it for yourself, do it for your family, do it for your spouse, because if you're 100%, they get medical care.
Absolutely.
And then that's huge. And especially in this world where they give this fake Obamacare, and then they give all this money to the insurance companies or the pharmaceutical companies, and they charge us what they want. And then it's just so ridiculous the way it's set up. If most people don't have insurance, I have it through my wife with Kaiser, which is amazing. That's why I never went to the VA, because I pay $5 for anything. That's not surgeries, everything. So I never wanted to mess with the VA. I saw the pictures back when I was younger in all the movies where, the VA has all the people in the hallways and they got all the, they look so, and I'm like, I don't even want to go there. And it's not that way, but so.
Yeah.
All right. So you did 2 tours. So it's unusual for me to talk to somebody in the Air Force who actually did anything, and please don't talk about them, because
shots fired.
There's 2 sides. There's the chair force, and then occasionally there is a part that really does a lot. And I ran into a guy the other day when at the gym I was walking out, and he goes, "Let me get to that for you, sir." I'm like, "Okay, Army or Marine?" And he's like, "How did you know?" I said, "Because the sir," he goes, "I'm actually Air Force." I'm like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah." And he told me what he did. I go, "That's so you're the real involved Air Force, not the chair force we make fun of."
That's funny. Yeah, I was probably a crossbreed between the two. I drove the heck out of my chair and my desk. I was an airport operations manager for my time in the military. Started out in Elmendorf Air Force Base, Alaska, outside Anchorage. And basically, we filed the flight plans for the aircraft. We made sure the airport surfaces were within FAA and military regulations. We made sure that, construction and things like that was in budget and time, things like that. Anything related to airport operations, we kind of took over, worked really closely hand in hand with air traffic. And
so that wasn't the joint base. That was just the other base.
That was my first base. I spent 4 years up there
in Alaska, right? You said, is that the joint base?
Yes, it's now a joint base. Back then it wasn't, but now it is.
My son was stationed up there in the Army.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, now he's in Washington. Now he's getting ready to go to the desert in California.
I was at my favorite assignment. Well, one of my 2 favorite assignments, Edwards Air Force Base in California. Spent 5 years there. Got to work on some amazing programs, first flights of some pretty cool aircraft like the airborne laser, and
that wasn't a bad area. I mean, it wasn't the perfect area, but it wasn't a bad area.
It's desolate. It's still the Mojave Desert, but being able to drive 45 minutes and kind of be at the outer suburban areas of LA was not bad at all.
Yeah, I mean temperature wise wasn't so bad. I mean, it was bad, but not so bad, right?
I do well in the desert heat. So
yeah, that's why you're in Las Vegas. I don't. That's why I can't, they're really pushing me hard to leave California with all the things they're doing, but I'm on radio because I get to fight them with the radio show I talk on.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's there's pros and cons to everything, but they definitely treat us well in Vegas. Although the 120 degrees for July and August, that's for the birds. I'm traveling those months.
Yeah, that's because I'm in Modesto. We get hot. Like this last year, we only had like maybe 8 days over 100, and then maxed out like 107, which seems like a lot, but we cool down to like 60 at night, so it's not so bad. Yeah,
it's a big drastic change.
Yeah, it is, but that's okay. I'd much have a drop like that, and because we have the Delta breeze off of the ocean, and it just depends on how much wind we get through here. So we get warm, but it's not constantly. I mean, this year we were so mild, it was amazing. But there's been years we've been 113.
I mean, yeah, I know Salinas
3 months, and I have a pool. And I know it cools down. I have air conditioning. It's a little different. You guys, it never cools down in the summer.
It does dip.
Yeah, 75 or 8 is not cool down.
But if you spent all day while the sun is out at 120, 70, I remember this year one night it dipped to 75, and I grabbed my hoodie. I was like, this is chilly.
Yeah, I guess if you get used to it, it's so hot. But it's just so hot. I'm sorry. I mean, I can only imagine what it does to everything.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? The sun does, it just bakes everything.
it's tough. And the water resources out here are, we're already fighting with California for water rights over the California River and all that fun stuff. So,
Well, if it's named California, it should be ours.
well, it's the Colorado River. The Colorado River.
I know what it was. I know, but you called it the California, so I wanted to make sure you knew that it was ours.
It's fair enough. Fair enough.
All right. So you were in the service, got out, you were in LA for a long time.
Yeah.
How did you get into what you do now? Because you went from, airport stuff and you went from, all that stuff, to, I know you do, but all right. So when you got out, how was the transition? When you decided to get out, what you named it, 11 years and one day, whatever it was that I'm just done, or was that something happened and you were medicaled out?
That's a great question. So after I came back from Iraq, I came back home to California with my wife and my kids. I struggled because I came home, but I mentally was still over there. I did 2 tours. Air Force, we only do 6 months over there, and at that time, and so I came home and I was just a shell of myself. Like I couldn't go on date nights with my wife. I wasn't present with her. I was constantly watching all the people in the restaurant, watching the doors. It was really tough. And as a result, we ended up getting a divorce. And in that process, I kind of hit rock bottom. And it was bad. I mentioned I turned to the bottle. I turned to alcohol. I was an insomniac. I was struggling mentally, and I just wanted it all to be over. And that's a really tough place to be. But as I go through this process, I realize it's not as uncommon as I thought it was. And it's so sad, but we're not trained to deal with this kind of stuff, this mental warfare. It's to go from facing your mortality in Iraq to coming back home. And in a matter of days, like, you're okay, you're safe, play with your daughter and go, be a human, a dad, a father, a husband. So when in the process of being suicidal, I had a moment where I was like, okay, if I do this, if I kill myself, I will be an example to my little 7-year-old at the time that I couldn't fight through the pain. I couldn't get through, and that would always be an example for her of what to do, an option of what to do when times get tough. And I didn't want that for her. So in that moment, I decided I needed to fight and show her an example of what to do, not what not to do. And I decided to, when my enlistment was up, to pursue my dream of directing live television events. And I moved to LA from Belgium at the time and didn't know anyone there. And I did the only thing I knew how to do, because I didn't have a network. I didn't know anything about TV stuff, but I knew how to work my butt off. And I knew I could use my veteran and military kind of work ethic to prove myself in this industry and make a name for myself. And
before you get into the little bit more, I got a question for you. All right. So you talked about the PTSD issue, right, that you were going through. And when did you go to the VA for help or to get your benefits?
Great question. I had a lot of people in my corner when I came back from Iraq that saw I was struggling and urged me to go seek therapy pretty quickly after I came back. So within a month of me coming back from Iraq, the first time after my first tour, I was in therapy. Now, I will admit it was difficult to kind of divulge everything that I was experiencing because I didn't want to lose my security clearance.
Right. But when did you finally get? That's not VA though. That's
no. That's just when I first sought out help. Fortunately, the tide was turning after I made that transition in my head. I told myself I wasn't re-enlisting. I had enough people that had gone on to the veteran side before me that was like, hey, this is what you need to do before you get out. Make sure you get a solid hard copy of all your medical records. Don't let them give it to you electronically. This is what you need to look for in terms of, what are all the medicines that you're on? What issues do you have that you have not talked to them about, and get that stuff documented before you get out so that your VA process will be so much easier. And thank freaking God that I had those people kind of helping me, because I filed for VA disability before I got out. While I was on terminal leave, the window opened up for me to file for disability. And I think a couple months after I got off terminal leave I think it was in 2016 that all this happened, I got my 100% rating, permanent and total. And so thanks to them, like anybody that I see in uniform today, I'm like, hey, make sure, I don't care if you're all masculine and you're He-Man and you're young, just go to the doctor, let them know what you're experiencing, because it will help you when you're up there and the body isn't working the way it used to.
And I told my son, I tell him, everybody, log everything that happens. If you're out on a doing something in the field, you don't always get to go to the doctor. You don't always get to be seen. Just log what happened, like something rolled, whatever it is, and the people around you, Sergeant so-and-so. So I said, so later on, you can know who to go to for a buddy letter if you need it, or if you need certain other things, log all that on your phone in notes. That's all you got. Everybody has notes or a form of that on their phone that they can just write everything down. So because you're not going to remember later on what has happened and when you need to put that together. And the thing right now is 70% of the people going to the VA for benefits right now are 50 and older. Because when we got out, we were like, told not to. We were told, don't, just suck it up and whatever. And then they every time you went back, they were like, nope. And so there's people with PTSD from going to the VA trying to get help and being told no.
Yeah, it's tough. There's a lot of pain and hardship there, but it's worth it if you advocate for yourself. Speak up and get what you're due.
You need to. I don't care who it is, and don't be proud because you signed a thing to do this. Yes, but there's stuff that you did that you didn't sign up for that, and even if you did, you got hurt on the job. If you got hurt on a job now, you'd get workers' comp, all this other stuff, and get help. You were in the military, go get the help, go get your benefits. When I first got out, I thought 100% meant you were laying in bed and couldn't do anything, because I would go out to loan appointments and I was like 100%, but he's moving around. What the hell? It's so many things add up to an issue that is over 100%. And VA math works off of 100% of you. The way it works is very unique. And, one of the things I have 50% for sinusitis, which is unheard of unless you are a wharf, unless you went over to a burn pit. But I was at Camp Pendleton and I was around a lot of stuff. And I still to this day have the same issues I had down there that I didn't have before. So, and it's about how you explain it. Yeah, my guy who helped me was like, I've never seen this. I'm like, it's because I explained what was going on. I told them what, I neti pot twice a day just to be able to breathe. And this is still how I am. Yeah. So
wow. And that's something, we mentioned before we went on the air. So many of these issues, I still don't have any of my burn pit stuff on my record as a veteran, and I need to get on that. Anybody who knows joint-based Balad, we had that burn pit going 24 hours a day. You just pray that the wind was blowing out and not over the base where you were just inhaling all that crap all the time. But yeah, that's important.
Yeah, you just need to have it there for cancers and other thing to worry about and other stuff, because you need to know that it's there. It's like my dad died of hairy cell leukemia, but they fought Agent Orange for so long that it did not affect service members. And by the time they came back and said, yes, that was it, it was 20 years after he was gone. Do they retroactivate anything? Hell no, they don't care. And that's the difference. What people don't understand is, I put it this way. If you ever watch Rambo or Rambo 2, you ever seen Rambo?
Yeah, years ago, but I saw.
I know. So he goes up to John and he said, John, what do you want? He's looking through the gate. He's like, I want what every other guy that came over here spilled his guts for this country wants. I want my country to love me as much as I love it. Right. And that's basically what we want, and that's, you got to remember. And he said it much better than me. I was in a hurry because we're on the show, but it's so true. That's exactly what we want. We are here to fight for this country. But then when we're done, we need to be taken care of, and we're not.
Yes. And
right, now,
so eloquently earlier, if you don't do it for yourself, do it for your family, do it for your wife, your kids, your husband, whatever the case. These are benefits that you are owed. When you signed on the dotted line, you signed, if you get hurt, these are the benefits that we'll provide for you. Please go get those.
Right. But they hid the whole VA thing. They hid the VA thing. Yeah, they hid the VA thing. They hid all those benefits you get if you do get 100%, 90, whatever the numbers are, whatever they hid all that. But the best part is, if you're married and you have kids, you got medical care for everybody covered. They go to school for free. You don't have to pay, get money for them also, because you can't, that whole thing. And I keep hearing all these things where they're talking about, oh, they're going to come back. And if you're P&T 100% and working, they won't do that. It'd be such an outcry. It'd be ridiculous. You know why it won't happen? There's too many Democrats. If you understand what I mean, but because, Republicans are about, a lot of us, Republican Party is so much bigger now. It's the inclusive party, but I'm just saying the benefits that you get, Democrats don't let anybody slide from not having any benefits, even if they shouldn't have it, they get it. So there's no way that they'll be able to do that. Too many Democratic senators will fight the other way for that. I'm not saying Republicans won't, but I'm just saying that's the other side. They're all about giving everything.
Yeah.
They're not going to pay for it. They don't care. They just want to give it and give it and give it, because, well, they know how they're going to pay for it. People who work, they're going to take it from them. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think that should be a nonpartisan issue. Anything with veteran or military surrounding it, particularly the people, that should be just a non-issue.
It should be, and it would be, but it's just and I'm not saying that because I listen to these guys that are on TikTok who talk about it, and they're like, oh, look at the new stuff that's coming through, and they're going to do this. No, it won't happen. There's too much of an outcry. Now the whole thing about California, who pushed out all the homeless veterans out of the hotels and in New York and slid in illegal aliens. Now those are a little different. Those guys need to be, that's why I think more veterans need to be in politics. And if we had more veterans in politics, this is what you do in California. You say you're a Democrat, all you veterans go in as a Democrat, and then once you get elected, you flip party to Republican.
Whew.
You're laughing. We had a bunch of people flip from Democrat to Republican in California. Not a ton, but a few. And I'm like going, oh, that's an easy way to get in now. Just say you're a Democrat in the Democratic area, because here's what in California, the problem in California is this was done by Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was trying to protect the Republican Party, keep them in power. So they ran a thing through real quick at the election that was supposed to be the top two parties in the election or on the ballot. No, it ended up being top two people on the ballot. So now it's not a Democrat and a Republican, it's the top two people. So in a lot of these areas, the way that they draw these lines, it's so Democratic done that they have two Democrats running. So they always have a Democrat running and winning.
Wow.
That's like the Prop 50 that just came through. They're going to find out they lied about everything and how it went through, but that's beside the point. The issue is, there's 43 senator or whatever they are, House Senator or whatever, that are Democrats and 9 that are Republican. They wanted to take 5 more away from the 9.
Wow.
That's a problem. There's a push. Just let's do it right. Anyway, move on.
Oh,
this is about you, not about California. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. So you got in. So you were going everywhere to become this director that you wanted to be. And before I cut you off and ask you a question about the VA, sorry.
No worries. I ended up in this journey while I was still in the military. I cold called hundreds of people. I emailed thousands of people like, hey, I'm a veteran. I'm really interested in this field of live event production. Do you have any recommendations? Anyone I could talk to? And I didn't get very far. It was really disheartening. I ended up reading a bunch of like textbooks and just kind of nerding out on live television things.
They didn't have YouTube videos about it at the time.
There's a
I'm
few,
just
but
curious.
it's such a niche profession where, there's so much on film, there's so much on um, kind of recorded events and television and episodic things. But in terms of live in the moment event production, like sports highlight shows, award shows, concerts, things of that nature. At the time, I wanted to specialize in concerts. There's not a lot there, and there's only 1,000 or so of us that really do what we do in the United States. So, considering all the live events that are happening in the world, it's surprisingly quite niche. And so anyway, I hustled and, used that military mentality of being the first person in, last person out, always ready to get my hands dirty.
So where did you start at?
So I moved to LA.
Right. We know that. You've said that before.
But I ended up going to UCLA Film School because I thought that would kind of take me in the direction. And I
Used your
did.
GI Bill, I assume.
Yes, I used the GI Bill. And I ended up hating cinematography school. And I found my way on a UCLA football game and started talking to those folks. At that time, I was the Pac-10 network. Pac-12 network, and they were putting on this event, made friends with the directors, producers, crewing, managers, and I was like, hey, you know what? I'd love to shadow. I'd love to be a part of. This is my background. This is my history. They loved me. I ended up networking there to working with the Little Fox in LA that did at that time, they did the Kings, Ducks, Angels, and Clippers games in LA. And so I started working with them as a production assistant, delivering coffee. They saw that I had drive. They saw that I had, I was willing to come in and learn the gear, learn everything. While people were at lunch, I would stay behind. I was early, I was late. And they gave me an opportunity. I was really fortunate to make the right friends and be awarded an opportunity, and I made the most of it. And here I am. Now I've directed some pretty amazing productions. I've been a part of two World Series, a Super Bowl. I've directed myself multiple Australian Opens for a U.S. audience. I've directed multiple French Opens. And so many sports highlight shows, so many corporate events, so many concerts. And now I'm here to like, man, how did I go from such low lows to being here, being a guy with no experience in this industry at all. And it's a hell of a journey.
So what's their plan going forward now? I mean, because to somebody like me who's like, I did an Australian Open and directed, it doesn't sound like, and please don't take it wrong, but that big of a deal, because I'm not into, first of all, tennis. But what's involved, I mean, you're not like, okay, you're going to hit the ball, and when you hit the ball, you're going to do it. That's not what you're directing. You're directing the camera angles and the different things, right? And that's a little bit different than what most people think a director does, which is, in a movie set, they're like, okay, we're in this, they have the writers, they have everything. Okay, go action. And then I don't like the way that looked. Let's do this all over again. That's not what you do. You don't have that choice. So what do you do as a director on live stuff?
So great question. So I am working with the camera operators. I'm working with our talent, our on-air commentators, making sure that we are capturing the event that's happening in this arena, in this football stadium, in this baseball diamond, and making sure we are there covering the action when it happens. So all of our camera operators know their assignments. When the ball goes over here, you shoot this way. We have statisticians, we have graphics people that are making sure that the names are spelled correctly, that the stats are right, and we insert those graphics at the right moment. We have replay operators that make sure that, out of the 50 cameras that we might have in a venue, making sure we're capturing the right replay that shows what our commentators want to see, what the viewers want to see at home, and that we're telling stories that the producer who sits next to me wants to say. So perhaps one of the tennis players they have a little daughter at home. So they're going to talk about like, oh, their daughter made it. This is their first tennis match. And so we cut to the camera with the mom holding the daughter. And then we cut back to the guy about to play tennis, or, the same thing with the baseball game, the same thing. So we're telling stories with cameras and replays and video packages and graphics in a way that is a little different from film, but it's still telling a story, kind of creating that atmosphere.
And what's the difference from LA to Las Vegas with your career?
In Vegas, there's more, because of the convention work, there's more convention, gala, concert type work versus, I focused a little bit more on sports in LA.
Now, all right. So who do you work for? Do you work for yourself? Are you independent?
Yes, freelancer.
Okay. And so do you get contracted to oversee certain things and make sure things are done right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, project by project basis.
Okay. And that must be, it helps having this disability, but it's not, that helps not to stress too much, but it's a mortgage payment.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. I'm
just saying, but it does help to have that as, here's the thing. I've been doing loans for 25 years. Okay. And I've had people come in who are retiring, and I look at what they have and I'm like going, oh my God, you got nothing. Wow. They got Social Security and they get this, and it adds up to not even what my disability at 90% is. And I'll be at 100 here within the next 6 months. I'll be at 100. And that's, you and your wife, that's right around, it'll be 4,100 before you know it. And that's tax free. So that's like 65 grand a year tax. And people, that's not a ton of money, but it's a good solid to pay for mortgage, your mortgage and a few things, especially when you go to retire. That's extra money you don't have to worry about. Plus you get the medical on top of that.
Absolutely.
And your wife gets part of it, as long as you've had it for a certain period of time, and she'll get part of it for a long, forever.
Yeah.
So it's important to do that. And I just look at what some of these people are on. I'm like going, geez, how do you survive?
It's tough.
I could not survive off of, that's the problem is you look at what you bring in now and you're like, okay, if I was going to retire, what I have to need to replace that with. And that's like my son, he's a lifer for the military. But then when he gets out, you figure, okay, that's close to almost 100 grand a year if you get your 100% disability plus your retirement.
It's nothing to sneeze at.
No, and plus go to, he'd still be young, 38, and be, and a nurse, and they make ridiculous. So in California anyway, they make ridiculous.
Yeah, you can set yourself and your family up for, an easier life in your latter years. And I think that's what it's all about, having options, having leverage, and being able to, focus on the future in a way that allows you to have flexibility. Go travel if you want, spend time with your grandkids if you want, not be like, I have to do one thing or another.
Correct. And I'm just looking at, that's why you want to go get your benefits. It makes, it can change your what I help people with a house does for families. They change the trajectory of the whole family, the life who've never owned a home before, we've never done this before, that the equity you build off that. Well, same thing for benefits. That changes every dynamic in the household. What you get covered, what you don't have to worry about when you have so much percentage. When you go to the VA, you don't have to pay for certain things. You don't have to pay for that. It's so important to get that stuff and those benefits. So I'm sorry, I'm so adamant about it now after I finally got mine for fighting, and now I know how to do it and what I'm trying to do for vets. Plus, I didn't talk about, I do a firewalk for veterans here in Modesto. It's an actual true, like, I don't want to be in trouble, but Tony Robbins event, where you walk across coals and all that fun stuff. The guy that helps me put on, that does the firewalk, he worked for Tony Robbins for 20 years as his fire captain. He is a vet. He comes out, he does that part of it. We do kind of a motivation. This time we're going to knock it down to 2 hours, 2.5 max, because it's just it's just too much, because we do it during the summer, or we have, and it's to get to 8:30. you have to put on a whole dog and pony show for 3 hours or more. Now we're moving it to the weekend after Veterans Day. So it'll be dark at 5. And so we don't have to wait so long to start walking on coals. So
Very cool. That's super important. And, that kind of leads me to what I do now. I also, when I'm not directing, I speak for organizations, for schools, for folks, and let them know, hey, your limit is a lie. You are unlimited. You are only limited to what you believe, and you have to see it in your mind first, and then it will come into fruition, using, military strategies that we've learned, that we already know, plus neuroscience, how the brain works. How do you learn? How do you achieve change and identity, to accomplish your goals and dreams? And that is awesome that you're doing that, because the people need it so much.
Yeah, we as veterans need it. There's so much that we can do for each other, and luckily today you guys are more connected than when I got out. There wasn't Facebook at the time when I got out. There wasn't a lot of the stuff that we have now. There's so much stuff changing drastically on a daily basis, and there's so much opportunity in doing things that there wasn't before. I'm constantly. It's been 6 weeks. I learned how to vibe code 6 weeks ago. I've created 7 different apps I'm working on. Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing. Yeah. It's, dude, the stuff that you can do with vibe coding, VIBE coding. If you're a vet, just look into it. If you need help on it, reach out to me. I'll tell you how to do it. But there's so many apps that are out there. Yeah. So one of the apps I use a lot is Lovable, LOVABLE.dev. The other one is Replit, REPLIT.dev. Yeah. Well, they're different now. Replit is different the last 2 months because they have this Agent 3 now that you just talk to and tell, and it does amazing stuff. The problem is you want to start off with small apps, like real small things. I didn't do that because I don't listen. Because the guy who told me to do this is Perry Belcher. I was at one of his events that just happened 6 weeks ago called Growth Hacking Live. It was in San Diego. He's the same guy that was part of Traffic and Conversion years ago, and then they sold it to another company. They took it to Las Vegas, and then it died. Well, they created this new thing, and in it was this one thing about vibe coding. I'm like, what the hell is vibe coding? And then while they're talking about it, I pull up the app. I start working on it because I'm like, wow, I can create software to get rid of software I buy. That's how I looked at it. And I was like, I use this mortgage stuff. I wonder if I can I started creating them, but I didn't know what I was doing at the time. But now I do.
That's how it starts. You got to start somewhere.
Right. Another thing with Lovable, what I did is I was creating websites, which I didn't know. So what I didn't realize is, like, a friend of mine was like, I need a water website. Well, another friend of mine who does shows with me, he's a real estate agent. He doesn't have a website really. He has a company one, but he does probate. And I'm like, dude, you need a probate site, because the way real estate's going, it's going to get to where, unless you're specialized, you're going to be nobody. And so I quickly did it in like 2 minutes and sent it to him. And he's like, wow. And then I learned so much more doing a water one for this friend of mine. I'll tell you afterwards of what I made, because I don't want to run this. Anyway, I'm just saying it's ridiculous. This is the play they're doing right now. So they tell you to go find a website that's horrible, drop it in Lovable, tell it to make it like a national chain, blah, blah. And it makes it really amazing compared to what they had. And then you go to them and you send it to them in an email and say, hey, I saw your website. I redid it. What do you think? If you like it, just let me know if you want it. Just offer me what you think it's worth. They make between $500 to $750 for 5 minutes work.
Wow.
And then if you're into, I don't know if you know anything about Go High Level or any of that.
Oh, yes. I love Go High Level.
Right. So do I. But what they're doing is then they sign them up for the AI stuff for $99 a month. And then the other services, the next thing you know, you got a residual income every month from signing these people up from just doing their website for 5 minutes. I know you got it. Now you're like, I don't want to be a director anymore. Anyway,
I'll always direct. There's something creative that I love, and working with teams and stuff. But
I can direct. I do so many lives, and what I do and how I do it is totally different than everybody else. How I do podcasting is different than other people.
Let's collaborate, brother. Let's make something for your live events. Let's do it. Streaming.
Well, I'm thinking you need to come out for our next Firewalk 2026 in November, and then you could get a couple people, and you could direct. We need amazing videos. We had our first year, we had amazing videos. Second year didn't, because we didn't have the same people come back. Because here's the problem. We had some company was there to help us be part of it and whatever. And then their video, that was all about them and what they did for us. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. I knew the guy was going to be that way. I had a feeling. I have a feeling about people. I'm like, this guy is not who and everybody was all, oh, he's so nice. Huh? Yeah, he's good. And then I said, they were supposed to come for nothing and do everything and be part of it and give us all the assets and then create us something. Well, instead of creating us something, because we paid for the event,
right?
They created this asset and then they sent it to us. And on the front thing, it was about that guy. I think they messed up. His people sent the one they created that had him about how he was at this event and blah, 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 and what they did for veterans and blah, blah, blah. Okay. And I was pissed. I said, it's funny is you came to our event. You said this. We paid $35,000 to put this on. You didn't pay anything, but you're promoting it like you did. And I was not very happy. Yeah. They were not asked back. Yeah.
As well, they shouldn't.
Well, no, that's the thing about people taking advantage of vets. Be careful. Anybody who's advertising on TV, stay away from them for mortgages, real estate, anything. Because if they can afford to advertise on TV, they're not giving you a good deal.
Yeah.
Because they got to pay for that somehow. Logan, it was nice having you on. I want to talk to you afterwards when we get done here. But is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't ask you? Do you want people to find you about your what you do for coaching or talking or speaking? How do people find you?
I'm speaking of websites, my website's going in a revamp stage right now on Go High Level, but the Logan Unlimited is how people can reach out to me for.
I'm sorry, but you really need to redo that website. And first thing I saw, it was. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's not at the level that you should be at.
I appreciate that. And it should be coming out. My team said either later this week or early next week, so it's nearly there. But yeah, the Logan Unlimited .com, and reach out for collaborating on the director side, reach out for motivational speeches. I'm going to release my book here in early 26, so stay tuned for that. And
you have the name of it yet?
Relentless.
Okay.
Relentless.
And it's going to be on Amazon, I assume?
Yes, it'll be everywhere.
I know, but and then just so you know, when you sign up for Amazon and you put it through there, there's another thing where they pull the money through and you can put that on your website to where you make most of the money versus sending them to Amazon to get your book.
Oh,
well, because my book's back behind me, Building Personal Wealth Through Home Ownership, Financial Freedom, and they didn't have it at the time. And I can't think of the name. I always like forget. I want to say McGraw and Hill, but it's not that. But they didn't have it that way. They didn't have it to where you could do it at that time. Because mine came out over 2 years ago in February. They didn't have it that way, so you had to go through Amazon. Well, since then, the company that you go through does the printing and then sends it on. They have it to where you can put that on your website. With now, when people order, you make the most of the money. Instead of like Amazon does. We make $2 to $3 on Amazon. If you do it through this place, you make the $6 to $7. Yeah, because I'm like, I keep getting these checks now. I'm like, who's buying my book again?
I love it. Love it. That's awesome.
And it's through my website versus through Amazon.
For sure. That's gold. Absolute gold.
Logan, thank you for being on the show today. Really appreciate you being here and sharing your story. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate you and appreciate everybody listening. You guys are what it's about, and reach out for help, connect. You being in the community is what it's all about. That's how we as a veteran group move forward, connecting. Like, don't hold anything in. Let's just keep the lines of communication open and connect, All
right. Appreciate you being here. Thank you, sir. Everybody else, if you like what we do here, just subscribe. We appreciate you.